Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Can everyone see me okay right here? I want to make sure I'm not standing behind the podium the whole time. Okay, perfect. So first, a little bit about me. My name is Anna Alvarez. Thank you so much for letting me come and speak to the Investment Society. I'm a business owner. I've had a business for 7 years now, and it's my passion to educate people on personal branding and entrepreneurship and leadership. So, just a little bit about me. I'm a first generation college student, MBA student. Like I said, I'm an entrepreneur and business owner. I own a business called Social Sophie Marketing LLC. And this year, I was inducted into Texas Business Hall of Fame under Harvey Najum for this award. So, future Texas Business Legend recipient. I'm an aspiring philanthropist. And I also work at the Najum Center here at UTSA, where I manage entrepreneurship and innovation efforts. And like I said, once again, I established my marketing agency when I was 15 years old back in 2016. So a few things I wanted to go over before we dive right into the content are what are things that LinkedIn has done for me? Well, LinkedIn has been able to allow me to network with public figures and high like business profile people. I've secured multiple jobs, internships, and personal development opportunities through networking on LinkedIn. And I've also built a very credible and impressive track record for myself, and I'm able to expand more on my resume. And a few stats for you to understand as to why I think LinkedIn is so important for your job search and just personal development. There are six people are hired every minute on LinkedIn, and job seekers with a comprehensive LinkedIn profile have a 71% higher chance of actually securing a job. So LinkedIn has been on the rise in terms of recruitment, in terms of getting jobs, in terms of getting internships. By the end of this workshop, I hope that this is you. So some of the learning objectives for this LinkedIn class is first, we're going to be setting up your LinkedIn for success. So I see we're all in front of computers. So if you wanted to pull up your LinkedIn, that's more than appropriate. I don't mind at all. The second thing is going to be about building your network. The third is going to be posting content that shares your personal brand and lets people know about you. And then the fourth is going to be how to stay in touch with connections, foster relationships, and turn them into potential leads. So how many of you already have a LinkedIn profile? Okay, so most people in the room have one. So out of all of those people, how many of y'all use it every single day to network? Perfect, awesome, sweet. So the first thing I'm going to go over in terms of LinkedIn is going to be your picture, your banner, and added a new feature for video. So in terms of your picture, what you want on your LinkedIn is you're going to want a clean headshot for those of you who don't have a LinkedIn or don't know what it is. The Iris booth, there's one at the SU, the Student Union, that you can go get a free headshot. It's open all the time and it emails right to your student email. So you're going to want something that's probably from chest up, facing forward, smiling. If you want something more of on brand for you, then you don't have to smile, but usually a smile is always great on LinkedIn. And then LinkedIn also allows you to have a little bio where you can describe yourself in the banner. So a few banners that I really like that kind of show the personal branding. One of my connections is Lola. She has an amazing banner that puts her mission statement on there. So I help marketing executives unleash their magic. She talks about the different places that she's been featured. She's also a top LinkedIn voice, so she's put that into her banner. And then another one of my clients that I work with, her name is Nina Hersher. She's a keynote speaker. She once again kind of put her mission statement on her banner, a little pic of her doing a speech, and then the three things that she does, which are keynotes, trainings, and retreats. Now, two other banners, if you don't quite have all of that content or quite a mission statement to put on there, you can always do something as simple as my friend Will Smith here. He does cybersecurity and technology at MasterCard. And yes, that's his real name. I'm not even kidding. It is Will Smith. So what he did was he found a stock photo of tech and he just put his passion statement, which is my passion is knowledge to make technology safer for everyone. And if you see it. Now that we've dived into a few basic concepts, before we dive in more, I wanted to take a moment to look at the worksheet that I provided. And I want you to think about some goals now that you have coming into class. What are some things maybe you want to improve on your LinkedIn? What are the reasons why you want to use LinkedIn? So I'll give a few minutes for that. And I'm not sure if there's anyone in the chat, but right now we're just reflecting on some goals that we have for LinkedIn. Now, I like to keep things a little bit more interactive in terms of my classes. So if you could turn to the person next to you and maybe discuss one reason why you want to start using LinkedIn more, or one goal that you have for your LinkedIn profile. Yeah, no, and that's absolutely I actually got a marketing management and strategy internship with HP all throughout LinkedIn networking. It started at a career fair, but then I found the recruiters all on LinkedIn and kept personal contact with them, and that's how I secured an internship. Is there anyone else that wants to share before we move on? Okay. No, there you go. Perfect. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about this cool new feature that LinkedIn has. They have a video. So you can go a little bit more in depth with rather than just a bio. So we all know on LinkedIn, you can have your bio here. But to make it a little bit more personal, now they've added a video where you can do a 30-second video kind of talking about you and doing an elevator pitch. So I will play an example. Hi, my name is Anna Alvarez. I'm a first-generation college student, entrepreneur, and the founder and owner of Social Sophie Marketing. I developed my marketing agency when I was a 15-year-old high schooler, and since then, I've worked with over 20-plus clients in developing marketing strategies. With the success of my business, my passion lies in my community involvement and my advocacy and mentorship for young, aspiring entrepreneurs. Thank you for stopping by my LinkedIn, and I can't wait to connect with you. So the LinkedIn video, like I said, allows a little bit of a more personal touch to your LinkedIn rather than just having words, because sometimes not everyone wants to read a whole paragraph. It's nice to have that video, and it makes your LinkedIn a little bit more warm and inviting. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to help you craft your personal statement, which can be translated into your LinkedIn video. So how many of you already know what a personal statement is? Yeah. Absolutely. Those are all correct. And is there anyone else that wants to add anything before I move on? Perfect. So yeah, personal statement, basically all it does is it lets someone or the person you're talking to know who you are, what your goals are, what you want to do, and what differentiates you from others. So like I said, it's going to describe your values, who you are, what you want to be, and how you define success, because success is subjective to everyone. A personal statement can also help guide your decisions and help you stay focused to meet your long-term and also short-term goals. And it's also very useful in everyday networking opportunities like interviews, social engagement. And like I said, you never know who you run into people, so it's always good to have that personal statement up at the top of your mind and know how to pitch yourself. And like I said, it's great to transfer to a LinkedIn video. So now, because this is a workshop and it's interactive, I want everyone to take a moment to think. This is going to be on page 2 of the worksheet that I provided. We're going to start working on the personal statement. I want you to first kind of consider your audience. If you are looking to use LinkedIn to maybe get a full-time offer, an internship, or a job, who is the audience or the company that you're going to want to talk to? Because personal statements also differ from person to person, right? You're going to change it up depending on who you're talking to, but most things will stay the same. And if you just want to use it for networking, think about who are the people that you're going to want to connect to, the network that you want to connect to. Then I want you to possibly list 1 or 2 skills that you really highlight, that you really think you're strong at. And then think about maybe what skills don't change in terms of your personal brand. Because sometimes when we're talking to people, we're going to highlight certain skills rather than others. But what are some skills you're always going to want to think about? And if you have a passion for what you do, how do you want to convey that passion, and what legacy you want to leave? So I will give y'all a few minutes to kind of look over this in the worksheet. Please feel free to talk to the person next to you. This is highly collaborative. Feel free to call me over, but let's answer these questions just a little bit first. And once again, if you can't answer all of these right now, you don't have to. Just kind of something to think about as we move forward in the class. And it can also be something as simple as your passion for finance or why you like it. Okay, does everyone kind of have a little bit of an idea or was able to jot just a few things down? Perfect. So, yeah. Yeah. So for me, like, for example, when I was saying there are certain companies that you're talking to. So like for me as a marketer, if I'm applying for a social media marketing position rather than a marketing strategy position, so the skills that I think I'm always going to have are marketing strategy, because it's applicable both for social media marketing and marketing strategy. That's one skill that I'm always going to highlight. But maybe if I'm applying for a social media marketing position, I'm going to talk about how I understand meta analytics and I know how to read data on there. But that's not something I necessarily want to highlight if I'm just managing just social strategy. So, like I said, the personal brand is going to change in whatever field you're going into or who you're talking to, right? Because, like I said, social media marketing is a little bit different from marketing strategy. So, I'm going to want to highlight my skills in social media marketing. We're just in marketing management. I probably want to highlight more of my managerial. But then there are just certain things that I'm always going to want to keep consistent between the two. Like, I know how to manage accounts, or I understand like client or B2B, stuff like that. So there's just certain things that you're always going to want to highlight. So it's something good to think about. And then just depending on whatever person you're talking to or company, those are the things that you're going to change up a bit. The same thing like a cover letter. Does everyone know what that is? I'm going to double check. Okay. And I was going to ask, does anybody have a personal statement even before this? Nope. Okay, no worries. So does anybody maybe want to share some of the skills that they had written down on their worksheet that they were thinking about, or some of the audience that they want to? Yep, that's perfect. And then what about any skills? Was anyone able to put down any skills that they had? Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Anyone else want to share? Perfect. So then now also something to consider when crafting your personal statement. It's really good to be technical, and it's good to say, I know how to use WordPress, which is an application. I know how to do this, or I understand these kinds of concepts. But it's also important to humanize yourself in your personal statement, because this is what's going to differentiate you. So think about maybe key moments in your life or some adversity that you had. The one thing I always remember to mention is that I'm a first generation college student. And that's something I always add to my personal statement. That's important to my personal branding. And if you're stuck in terms of writing your personal statement, a tip I always have is write the opener sentence last. So really think about the skills, think about your audience, and then you write your hook last when you have all of that content. And once again, you always want to remember to highlight your strengths, be honest, be unique, and use examples and proof statements. So what I mean by that is when I was talking about my business, my video, I said that I worked with over 20 plus clients and have had $650,000 in gross sales to date. That's an example of a proof statement to show, hey, I've done this, and this is kind of the result of that. And people like to hear numbers, and people like to hear proof statements when you're talking to them. And also connect your story or passion to your major field. So how I did that is because I'm an entrepreneur, marketing and business, I connected my passion of inspiring young entrepreneurs into my personal statement as well. And try to avoid cliches like saying you're a team player. That's a great quality, but there are more unique ways to say it, like personal anecdotes, or just talking about the way you've collaborated with others in certain companies and situations. And also find someone to proofread it. I can't tell you how many times with my personal statement I have asked my friends, my mentors, my peers to hear my personal statement and proofread it for myself. So like one for my business, the hooker is cultivating creative thinking and a passion for marketing. So kind of that first punch in terms of your personal brand. Now, also in the worksheet, if you're stuck, I've provided a template to kind of help write that personal statement. So you can take the points and put it into that. So my name is blank, my passion is blank, and through the use of blank, I'm a blank. And this is important to me because, and this can kind of be a good way to think about the personal statement and write it into a sentence. So here's the way that I put it together. Okay.
I was getting another how is
Yeah, so the thing is the elevator pitch and the personal statement are pretty close together. They're almost the same thing. But I think the personal statement can be used when you have a little bit more time to talk to somebody and you have a little bit more time to talk about who you are, where the elevator pitch is more like that 20-30 second deal, where a personal statement is you say who you are. It can be kind of up to a minute, and you're kind of elaborating more on just rather like more than just your skills, more of your passions and what you want to do with those skills. So that's the way I see it. And also because LinkedIn is more of a page rather than a resume, people, when they go on LinkedIn, they usually stay on your page for longer, versus if a recruiter's looking through your resume, it's quick. Where LinkedIn is a place where you can actually expand, talk about your passion, talk about who you are rather than just all of your skills. So a way that I've kind of put my bullets together is my name is Anna Alvarez, and I'm a digital marketer with 6+ years of experience. I founded my digital marketing firm when I was a 15-year-old high schooler, and through my entrepreneurial experiences and hardships, I've discovered my passion lies in my community involvement as a mentor and advocate for entrepreneurship. And as a servant leader and mentor, I will leave a legacy that will inspire young entrepreneurs to reach their full potential in the marketing industry. So once again, that hook was that I founded my business when I was 15. So find kind of that thing that makes people open their eyes wider, right? And then I was able to talk about my experience of being a digital marketer and what I want to do with that. So next, we're going to talk a little bit about the profile header. So the profile header is just going to be that quick, I believe it's 250 characters right at the top of your profile. That's just going to highlight quickly what you do. So this is not necessarily where you're going to put your personal statement, but just a quick few points of who you are. So mine is founder and owner of Social Sophie Marketing, what I do, which is digital and social media marketing. And then I quickly put my passion statement because that is one thing that's important for me to convey at the top of my profile. But some really good things to also put on your LinkedIn is what your major is, maybe some clubs or a place that you work at. And then, like I said, passion is always great to put. It really differentiates it from others. And then also, if you have an impact that you're trying to do on your field, go ahead and also add that to the top of your profile header. Now, on the worksheet, I believe on page 3, there's going to be a few bullet points that we can answer. So just stuff like, what's your major? What are some clubs that you do? Once again, going back to that passion, that impact. So I will give y'all a few minutes. Yeah, so let me go ahead and show you on LinkedIn. So this right here is the header. So that's the header. So that's like the first thing that people see. So that's where you're going to want to put, like I said, probably where you work, what your title is, and then a quick passion statement. And then this is the about. This, I believe, is over 2,000 characters. So this is where you can go and elaborate and tell your personal statement or your personal story here. So yeah, that personal header is just something quick to say, this is who I am, this is where I work. Yeah, personal statement will go in the about because that's expanding basically on this header here. And while you keep writing, I'm going to go over just a few don'ts for your profile header. You never necessarily want to say you're unemployed in your profile header. So it doesn't look great to say you're unemployed, even though it's the truth. There's going to be other ways that we can say that in the profile. So there's actually a hashtag called ONO, which means seeking new opportunities. And this is it means open to new opportunities. And what's really cool and differentiates this hashtag is whenever recruiters are looking up people, I've actually talked to a recruiter at HEB, and one of their methods of recruiting people is they look up the hashtag ONO, which means open to new opportunities, and it will pull up every LinkedIn page that has used that hashtag right on. So it's a good way to get searched up quicker, and it's better than saying unemployed. So you can add that hashtag to your post. You can add that hashtag to your about section, but the post is really where the hashtag is going to be more effective. And then also, you don't, like I said, you don't want to say necessarily seeking opportunities. You can say seeking opportunities in what field. So be a little bit more, like elaborate more on it versus just saying unemployed, seeking opportunities. What are you trying to do? So add that goal rather than saying I want a job. And then try to avoid cliches again, once like the team player. Instead of adding team player, you can elaborate on that in your bio with personal anecdotes and experiences. So next, we're going to go on to a section on your LinkedIn I will show you is the recommendation section. So we've talked about the banner, and you can actually go, does everyone know what canva.com is? The design website. You can go and they have tons of free templates to use for your LinkedIn banner. So if you don't want to use a stock photo and you wanted to personalize it with your name and your major, you can go on Canva, create a free account, and download a LinkedIn banner template and make that. And once you add your experience, your job and your university will pop up here as well. We've talked about the personal statement, the about. So we're going to move down to your recommendation. So this is here where people are going to be able to vouch for you. So people that you have worked with, mentors who you have worked with, coworkers, senior leaders, and supervisors here are going to be able to talk about you and talk about their experience with you in the workplace. So you might be asking, how can I get people to recommend me, right? Because we don't want to just go ask any random person. We really want to think about, who do we want to recommend? So think about someone that you've worked with really closely, someone that you know you have a really good relationship with, like a mentor or a professor. And how do you reach out to them? Well, I've provided a template that is really good to use whenever you're DMing, emailing somebody to request a recommendation. So, hi, blank. I hope you're having a great week. I wanted to let you know how much I enjoy working with you and how much I enjoy your insights and feedback. And I especially enjoyed collaborating with you on blank. Pull up a specific project for example, because they can recall the time that they've worked with you, and they can also, this is also an opportunity for you to talk about, I want you to highlight this project in specific that we worked together. I want to keep my LinkedIn up to date regarding my skills and experiences. Would you be willing to take a few minutes to write me a recommendation? And this is where you can say highlighting my skills in blank blank if you feel comfortable asking them to highlight specific skills. Once again, tell them that you appreciate it and thank you in advance. And if applicable, you can return the favor for them as well. So if you feel like you could write them a recommendation, that's always a good rule of thumb. If someone writes you a recommendation on LinkedIn, you usually write them one back. So once again, these are just a few recommendations that I have on my LinkedIn for my business. Now, one thing to also know is an incomplete and unprofessional profile could look really bad to recruiters. Like I said, going back to that headshot, we don't want to necessarily put a selfie on there. We don't want it to be heavily filtered. We want a professional, clean-looking photo. I will highlight this once again, but the Iris booth in the student union is free, and you can go take a professional headshot with a professional background, and just keeping that experience up to date is vital. So touching on experience, you want to be sure to always continuously add your recent work experience on your LinkedIn with the company and the date that you worked at them or worked with them with. So once again, this LinkedIn is going to be an extension of your resume. And this is where you can actually highlight projects that you were doing. So we're going to move up to we're in the recommendation still. We're going to move up to the experience. So here I have highlighted one of my clients, and on LinkedIn, you're actually able to upload content. So you can upload media, pictures, videos. So if it was a specific project that you worked on and you actually have media to upload, this is the place to do it to back up what you're saying. Another one would be here. This is an email campaign that we did. And the same thing down here, some social posts that we did. So you're able to, once again, highlight the media and highlight actual things. You can upload PDFs. So if you've done a research report, research paper, you can add that into the experience and add that proof statement with it. And once again, when we're thinking about how to actually kind of brand our experience and talk about it, like I said, you can really expand on here. It can be more than just a sentence like the resume has. So, for example, in terms of marketing, instead of saying posted daily social media posts and engage with followers and comments, you could say something like strategize the publication of daily social media posts using out of software that's applicable in your field, and engage with followers' comments and direct messages, which resulted in blank. And that's where you can add that value or proof statement. So it resulted in a 58% increase. So once again, those numbers are super vital for recruiters. They like to actually see what you've done and the results of what you've done. And a pro tip for the LinkedIn profile as well is you can customize your LinkedIn URL. So instead of having the LinkedIn URL that says LinkedIn and then a bunch of numbers and letters, you can add your name. So it's much easier for you to send the link to others. And all you have to do to edit that is go to edit public profile and then URL, and then type in whatever kind of URL you want for it. So I get this question a lot. If you don't have any experience, what do you put in the experience section of the LinkedIn? Well, one great way to gain more experience and to kind of add extra things to the LinkedIn is to get certifications. There are tons of free certifications online through Google, through Harvard that you can go and apply to and get the certification. HubSpot also offers many free certifications. Google offers certifications, but sometimes you have to pay for those. You can get certain proficiencies and highlight those on your LinkedIn as well. Another great thing to add onto the LinkedIn if you don't have much experience is volunteer experience. So you can look up local volunteering events for PSA and city events, and also any volunteering events that you might have done with Student Orphan Club. Also be sure to add awards and offers. So think about maybe leadership positions that you've held with the university, within certain organizations, and if you've made honor lists, dean's roll, president's list, and add also relevant scholarships that you have. So like one, for instance, for me would be the Texas Hall of Fame, which is something I have added. I've pinned it to the top of my profile here, and you can also add, so this right here is the license and certification. So you can add it and put the credential so it will pop up with the certification. This is the volunteering section, and you can also go in and add skills. So what kind of skills do you have, softwares you're proficient in? And then this is the awards and honors section. So this is where you can add if you've made president's list, dean's list, and then these are certain organizations you can add as well. And also another thing is don't forget to add relevant coursework and projects completed, particularly those in your major if you feel like you still don't have enough experience. As a grad student, I know I have written tons of papers and really great research projects that are great to highlight to show my skills in research. So those are things that you can upload to your LinkedIn as gifts and show as publication. So once again, LinkedIn is a great way for employers to get to know about you and to see about you without even talking to you. So think of LinkedIn as your interview pre-screen in a sense, right? So recruiters could make negative assumptions about you if you have few connections. This is one thing I've heard a lot, and it's unfortunate. But if you have few connections, then they may think that you might be a recluse. You don't go out and network a lot, and you don't know a lot of people within your field. So it's always great to have that 500 plus connections on your LinkedIn. So how do you do that? Go to networking events and constantly ask people for the LinkedIn. Also, they can make negative assumptions if you don't engage and post regularly or show activity on your LinkedIn. And especially when you're searching a job, it's extra important to keep your LinkedIn active and up to date. Once again, if you lack that professional headshot, it's the first thing that people see on your profile. So if they see you heavily filtered or with a Snapchat filter, it's not the best. And once again, if your profile is not complete, if there's no experience, there's nothing to judge your profile based on. Now, ways to avoid some of these assumptions, once again, is to go and connect with people. Go ahead and add a featured tab, so whenever you get an award or whenever you make a post, you can pin that to the top of your profile to make sure that those recruiters and the people that you're trying to network see that. And always keep it professional. Good rule of thumb is try to avoid political posts, religious posts, unless that is part of your brand, but that's something you tend to want to avoid on a professional networking platform. Also, keep active, engage with your connections, like, post, comment on things, and always keep it very positive. Now, the last thing we're going to touch on is building your network and making meaningful connections. Now that you've kind of gotten a glimpse on how to fill out a profile and make it a little bit more differentiated, it's time to make some meaningful connections. So this is a networking connection strategy that I use to this date, and I have used to gain clients. One of the clients I've gained through LinkedIn, his name was Sean Acor. He does TED Talks. We got him featured on Oprah Super Soul Sunday. He's written 3 to 4 books, and I met him through LinkedIn and was able to secure him as a client and still work with him 4 years later. So the first thing, if we're talking in terms of corporate jobs, is you're going to want to research your connections in your company. So in the next slide, I'm going to show you a very cool way to do a hybrid search for certain corporations and find the recruiters on LinkedIn. The second one is you're going to want to get connections. So you can use that request a connection template that I provided at the beginning of this, and there will be another one at the end of this as well. The third thing you're going to do is utilize common interests and skills of that connection. So if you see a recruiter maybe likes posts from this certain company or has certain skills or certain degree background through yours, that's something to leverage as well. Step 4 is going to be to nurture and engage with those connections and possibly ask for a 20-minute meeting via phone or Zoom. This is something you're going to want to play out by ear and intelligence with. And a personal anecdote is that is I connected with this TEDx speaker once on LinkedIn. And I really wanted to secure a Zoom call to kind of hear her experience of how she was able to get on TED Talk and how she was able to kind of do that. So I engaged with her. I was make sure to like all of her posts, comment on them. And then one day I shot her a message and I told her that her posts are really inspiring and I love the content she posted. And her and I kind of talked on DM for about a month. And I was able to secure a Zoom meeting with her by engaging in her post, commenting, and sending her a direct message. So it's not something you want to say right off the bat, because that can also seem kind of scammy and just not great. So you really want to engage with the connection before you ask for a call. And the 5th step is always follow up to show professionalism and reinforce your presence. One thing I will note is if they don't respond after the first, you can always send a follow-up, but after the second, if they don't respond, just consider it a loss and move on. You don't want to pester people, and it's just not a great look. Now, a few ways to make real-world connections that can translate to LinkedIn. Go to networking and career events. There's tons of networking and career events here at UTSA, and the city of San Antonio constantly posts them online and on their social media. At the end of a conversation with a professional or even just out and about, ask if you can connect with them on LinkedIn if this is someone that you want to build a professional relationship with. And also look up people in your industry or people who work at your desired company. Connect with them. So a way to find specialized searches for people that you want to maybe find from a certain company or certain recruiters is you want to go to that title search box and you want to add the company that you're looking for, comma, the city where it's at, and you can do comma recruiters. This is a simplified version of a Boolean search. Does anyone know what a Boolean search is? So this is just LinkedIn's simplified version. You add your first character, comma, your second character, comma. So an example of this would be a marketing director, comma, Austin. So that search box is only going to pull up marketing directors in Austin. Or recruiter, comma, marketing internship, comma, Dallas. So this is a way to find more specialized people in the search box versus getting a bunch of random searches. Now here's the request a connection template. So after you've found people that you want to connect with on LinkedIn, or if you've met with someone at a recruiting event, this is a great kind of way to request a connection with them. And this is something that you can send whenever you request the connection. It'll allow you to send that invite. So one of them is hello blank. I enjoyed talking to you at the event yesterday. That would be if that was an in-person event. And I look forward to the opportunity to stay in touch. The second one was going to be somebody that you have not met in person, but just someone that you want to connect with online. So I saw your profile on LinkedIn. I was impressed with your background and accomplishments, and I would love to thanks for connecting. And the third one's going to be for alumni. It doesn't necessarily always have to be alumni, but just if you see that someone has shared the same university or same interest as you, you can always add that to kind of find a common ground. Now, next is an action plan. This is what I like to do whenever I'm looking for new connections to connect with. Is I like to identify 3 to 5 connections that I want to connect with. I connect with them, and then I also will go through my connection list and find 3 to 5 people that I have not reached out to in a while or never, right? And I like to group them accordingly. So people that are within the firm that I worked at. So for example, when I was working at HEB in corporate, I identified about 3 connections that I wanted to reconnect with. And then there's also recruiters that you've worked with in the past. This is great if you're trying to secure another internship or if you're looking for a recommendation. And also just network and industry. So this is a great way to kind of find connections, reach out to them, and reestablish relationships. And a way to reach out to connections that you've maybe lost touch with or you haven't talked to in a while, you can say something as simple as like, hello, blank, I wanted to reach out to you to reestablish our connection or touch base. I've seen you've done this. It's always great to add a project so that they know that you've actually been active and looking at their LinkedIn. And I would love to hear more about it, which gives them more of a reason to respond to you. Thank you for your time, and sign it off with your name. Two other ways to connect with people, to reconnect with them, is to reach out with them on their work anniversary. So LinkedIn will give you alerts when people are celebrating a year, 2 years, 5 years of their work anniversary. So it's always good to reconnect with them. And also reconnect with connections who are starting new jobs. So make sure to congratulate people and send messages. Now, one thing I always like to do is try to post something Monday through Friday each week. And I know how hard that is with our busy schedules. So you can do something as simple as like one thing every day, repost one thing every day, because LinkedIn suggests that sharing content and sparking conversations will be a way to foster connections and to really excel your career. And other things to think about when posting on LinkedIn is to first words of encouragement, short personal anecdotes and photos, but once again, keep them professional. You can always share relevant videos, articles, and add a sentence about why they matter to you. And one thing I always say is try to keep it safe for work, because once again, you never know who's looking at your profile and you never know who will hire you. So one of my clients, she posts every day. So she posted this post with her and her friend at a network kind of career event. So just stuff like that. If you attend a networking event, go ahead and post it. If you attend a career event, go ahead and post it. So things that are relevant to your professional career. So during the last hour that we spent together, 360 people already got hired on LinkedIn. Now it's your turn. Are there any questions or comments or I can send it to you. Yeah. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I will I'll send the PDF version to you.
Yeah.
Perfect. I will send it and he can send it out. So I think I agree with that. And so what I mean by that is requesting to connect is if it's someone that you don't know and that maybe you don't think they would connect with you without a note or without an anecdote, I would go ahead and send it while you're connecting. If you do think they would connect with you, you can always follow up after you connect with them and say, hey, thank you for connecting with me, whatever. You can use the template. But I think more often than not, when I've used the note, when I connected with people, they've always responded. So it's also about how much have you put on the LinkedIn, how much have you filled it out? Because people that have listings on the LinkedIn might be more hesitant to connect. But I always think it's a good rule of thumb. So you're not just connecting with random people. And so you're actually establishing, hey, I want to connect with that have connected with me, or have I connected with them? So I get a lot of requests daily, and my inbox does get full with them, and it's really cool. But whenever someone requests to connect with you, on the request, on the LinkedIn request where you can accept or deny, it'll actually show the note right under it. They don't even have to go into their DM to read it. They actually see it right there in the request. So that's why I say add a quick note. It doesn't have to be anything long. You could chop that template I have in half to be like, hey, I would love to connect with you for this reason, because they do see it right there. And I connect pretty much with I consider myself a LinkedIn line, which is actually a real academic term. I'm not even kidding. So that's someone that connects pretty much with anyone and everyone. And is always building connections. So there's certain people that are like, I don't like to connect with everyone. I only like to connect with people I know. I love connecting with everyone. So I accept pretty much everyone. No. Because I think, no. Well, because for me, for my business and my personal brand, it's great to have all kinds of people, right? And especially being a business owner, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't everybody. But it's up to the person. And that's why if you feel like someone maybe would be less likely to connect with you, I think it'd be even more crucial to add a note as to why. I don't have a creator profile. I have mine as just a regular profile because I think it's super confusing because whenever I've seen people try to connect with others and it says follow, and they're like, but where's the connect button? I'm like, oh, you have to click 3 dots. So I think it's important not to have a creator profile because you want to have that connection rather than a follow, because you'll still see who your followers are, but you won't see any of their stuff unless you're connected with them. So unless you don't want to connect with everyone, so that's circumstantial. If you don't want to connect with everybody, but you still want LinkedIn followers, then that's something to consider. But if you do want to connect with lots of people and everyone, I would leave it as not a creator. Oh, so I own a marketing and business consulting firm. Yeah, so I've had it for 7 years now. I started when I was 16 years old. So all of the stuff I have done, and these are classes that I teach, I have done hours of research, numerous mentors, and have even done my own study and field in terms of my LinkedIn. And so another personal anecdote that I wanted to share with the Texas Business Legends interview. And it's funny because this past Saturday, I went to a volunteering event with the children's shelter. And one of my mentors, her name is Larissa Moon. She's the CEO of the children's shelter. When I was there, she said the first thing I noticed about your profile and that I always remember about you is that you have a video on your LinkedIn. And she goes, and when I saw that before I had interviewed you for Texas Business Legends, she goes, that was just something that stood out to me because I had never seen that on someone's LinkedIn. And so to hear that connection, to hear that someone had looked me up before interviewing me on LinkedIn and noticed something about my profile, that could have been, something that really differentiated me against the whole competition. And also after all of my interviews, I like to send notes to the recruiters and to my interviewers. Thank you for your time today. Or if you have their email's a little bit more formal, but if you met them through LinkedIn, then that would be appropriate. So what I would do is, so if you're saying if you filled out an application on LinkedIn, so if you had a point of contact, I wouldn't necessarily say go message the CEO, but if you had a point of contact in terms of a recruiter, I would send them a direct message. And if you have their email, because LinkedIn is more, I think, if you don't have their personal email or their personal phone or something, where you can shoot them in DM and say, hey, so-and-so, I submitted an application, can't wait to hear back or something. If you did have an email, then I would send it to their email because then they have that on file. It's a little bit more standard, if you will. But if you didn't have an email from a recruiter, then I would shoot them. Well, thank y'all so much. And please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. And thank you for your time today. And I hope that, it's hard to fit all of this into an hour, and it's hard to fit a whole personal statement into an hour because it's taken me a long time to craft my personal statement. But I like to just kind of bring light to this and help others find a little bit of inspiration to maybe make a LinkedIn work on it and really utilize it in terms of their professional brand. So thank you so much once again, everybody.